48RE. Gotta go. Come on.
This is Richard back at you. Can't be all work, no play, right? Annie, sit down. Sit. Shake. Can you shake? What about the other hand? Nope, that one there. Does her want her ball? Does her? You ready? Go get it. Yay! I tell you, it's exciting around here every day. She's a handful. Teresa, you're a handful too, right? There you go. But we got our 48RE tranny. You've seen our earlier video. We had a bunch of wiring problems, a lot of miles on the tranny, stuff like that. Now everybody was asking, does it really have 300,000 miles on it? Kind of hard to say. Now I looked at some things and if you start looking at some things, you kind of look in here and you kind of see a name here, maybe a count, maybe where a builder might have built it or something. And then this number here, I don't think is Mopar stuff. And you kind of see this pink paint kind of fading in here. That kind of could be a Mopar thing, but it's really hard to say.
That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Never seen the pink.
And we have our 48RE, like our ring here on our stator, you know, for converter drain back and all that type of stuff. You definitely want to put that back on. But I want to thank, I tried to find the name on the gentleman that told me to put the chain and hang it from the table into the drain bucket to keep it from you could keep it from hearing the noise of it draining. Kind of tongue-tied. But check this out, Teresa. This worked really well. We just kind of hooked a little chain here, stuck it down in the bucket. Now the fluid physically just drains down the chain. Now you don't hear the fluid draining all the time. So that was a really good idea. Thanks for giving me that information because we were trying to figure out how to do it ourselves. But anyway, where do we start? We've got a B&I torque converter here, a billet converter. This isn't the one we're going to be using, but it's just like it. We got the other one that'll be here Monday. But if you look at the factory mounting pads, these are the mounting pads that break off. They start leaking around here and stuff. The weld breaks, fluid starts coming out, and then we have a major problem. Especially when you have a factory flywheel and stuff, just a lot of flexing going on, especially when it chip a Dodge or put bigger turbos or anything like that. Where the billet converter, it just bolts to a flat plate like that. So a big difference. That's why we go to the billet converter. Less flexing. We don't have any type of chance of the lug breaking off because that's a really big common problem. So of course our beautiful ATS pan, our PTC torque converters right there. This is a company that we use in the Dirty Bird on their converters there. Really good company. So you always want to, if you need anything, holler at them guys. But you remember the TV motor wasn't on the transmission, is laying in the floorboard when we did our earlier video. But this is called a TV motor. Ever since about 2005, 2006, right in there, they got rid of the gas pedal cable and went to throttle by wire. So there is no cable down here moving the lever when you move the gas pedal. See, or like that. Okay, this here actually turns when you move the gas pedal now and acts as the cable. This is your TV rod here that moves back and forth. This is your lever, park, reverse, neutral drive, stuff like that. So, but he bought a couple of them, put them on there, didn't fix it, but it had a major wiring problem that we got straightened out and stuff like that. So, but anyway, we're gonna get this thing apart. I'm excited to do a Dodge again. It's been a while since, it's been what, Teresa, how long since we've been doing tranny? Since we moved. Quite a while, huh? Quite a while.
End of October.
Yeah. Now this is our third unit that we've done since we've been, have reopened. You always want to check this little nub right here. It gets rust in here, eats it up. Next thing you know, your cable starts popping off. These are kind of hard to find. I don't even know if you can buy that anymore, actually. And we have our neutral safety switch right here. Just two little tiny bolts. A lot of times they don't want to come out. You need to take a screwdriver in here and kind of just work it, and then it'll come out. Spray some PB Blaster in here or something. If you can't get it to move, just wiggle it. Don't break it off in there. But when you move your park reverse lever up top, this is what is being pushed in to give it different gear ratio. You know, park, reverse, neutral driver, whatever. Now we have our, it's called a isolator neutral safety. This is a black plastic thing that goes on the rooster cone of the valve body that this piece here actually rubs against as it turns inside the transmission. So that's something I didn't get to show you in our earlier video on parts that we supply. So
That would show it on the inside of the transmission.
yeah, we do. Then we have our output speed sensor too on our overdrive housing. Now this is aftermarket too. This isn't a factory one. Of course, you can tell it's been replaced. The factory ones are kind of yellow looking housing. Now this does turn into a little magnet, and it does track a lot of metal on the end. If you have speed sensor codes, you always want to pull this out, see if it's a big old wad on here, clean it off, put it back in, see if it starts working again. Now we're going to get to a snap ring back here that holds our overdrive housing and stuff like that, our output shaft for our overdrive housing all in. They're tapered Torx screws right here. If you just go in there and try to turn it, they do have a little bit of sealant on them, so most of the time you'll break off your Torx socket. So I like to come in here and just give them a little bit of a love tap. A love tap.
Love tap.
Come in here, put it in there, same. Tap it there. Oops, don't hit your thumb. Tap it there. And then come in there and just slowly turn it and get it out of there. They're still pretty tight getting out of there, but at least you break the rust or anything around this bevel or the chamfer down in here. Now you do have a gasket on here. The factory gasket comes in a kit, does work really good. You don't have to put any extra sealant or anything like that. You actually don't have to use a gasket. You can put some sealant on here, seal your screws, and tighten it down that way too. So there's multiple ways of doing that. I've already got all the bolts out of the housing here. Now these are 7/16 right here.
What are they again?
7/16.
Thank you.
Sorry. I really like this autopsy tail. It's just perfect for doing this stuff, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Now we have a little wire snap ring down in here on the top. It really doesn't do anything except hold the clutches in the housing for assembly. You don't want to leave it out or anything because it's really hard to hold these clutches and stuff in this little housing here. Because you build this section, build the 3-speed section, then you slide them together. So, kind of curious to see the miles on the clutches and stuff. Pretty dark. Not fried, but definitely got some age on them. 300,000? Hard to say. Now you remember, this tranny's been built before. That don't mean that they replaced the clutches or anything like that. So. We have a wavy snap ring here, and then we have a flat snap ring right below it. Flat one goes in first, wavy snap ring goes in second. Always keep the ends away from each other, the openings away from each other, and then never put the opening in this big area here. Always try to get my opening, try to hold this thing, always try to get my opening under, or the tip here underneath a ledge of some sort. See that right there? I got that tip under here, I got that tip under here. You never want to put it in here. And we have our bearing here. Now we do have a selective washer right here, spacer right here I talked about in our other videos. Now this is selective to set your clearance up between here, your direct clutch down in here, and your overdrive clutch here. So this is a real critical shim. You can see that snap ring right there. Open it. Always take here and kind of wobble this up and down. You can usually open it, pull it out of there. Usually. There it goes. Now this is your overdrive section here. It's got your overdrive direct in here. It's got your overdrive planetary, your overdrive sun gear, your direct clutch. You have your big bearing in the back. You have your parking notches right here for your parking pawl. When you put it in park, it grabs in here where it doesn't roll. I'm not going to put it in the press to take this apart. It's over here, and I haven't got it actually set up yet. I'll have to do it to build this unit. But this snap ring right here too, I want to show you. There's already a piece missing. This snap ring right here is a wavy snap ring, right? But if you notice, here's the original tip is still good. This piece is missing. I don't know if he found any snap rings in the pan or anything when he took it apart or changed the valve body and stuff off there, but this snap ring is busted. Half of a quarter of it's gone. It should be about that long. You always want to get your tips too under here, not in the opening. With a full snap ring, both tips will go one here, one right there. So I wish I had that set up to where I could show them, but I don't. On this overdrive apply piston, I keep like 10 of them. When I go to set my clearances and stuff up, I might play with this spacer here. If I can't get it where I want it, I'll start working with my pistons, because these pistons, just because they're all the same, don't mean there ain't 2 or 3 thousandths difference in them. So I'll play with this shim here. If I don't get it right, I'll start playing with pistons until I get it right. Now, the seals in these aluminum pistons and stuff like that, the lips are big enough sticking out to keep the piston from rubbing on the outer edge right here. Or if the seal is in the center of the piston, it's big enough to keep it from rubbing here. But if your seals get totally wore out, the tips get wore out on the seals, then next thing you know, your piston starts rubbing here or rubbing here, because the seals are so wore out, it physically can let it move around in there. So you always want to check your surface areas where your pistons run, okay? Now, of course, we always change the case savers out on these, case supports out on every one of these anyway, because there's always wear, tremendous amount of wear. But let me talk about this real quick too. Let me get this snap ring out. Okay, get a rag here and wipe it off. This snap ring that goes in here that keeps the output shaft for the four-wheel drive and stuff from moving back and forth, if you look at it here, you can see how it's worn on this side. See that?
Oh, yeah.
If you flip it over, you can see how it wore on the outside.
Yeah.
See? And it wore on the inside here. Outside here, inside here. So the snap ring will have to be replaced, but also, grab my flashlight.
Why did it do that?
Anytime it goes into overdrive, it pushes on that 800-pound spring. So all your preload in overdrive is trying to shove this shaft this way. All your load on this bearing in overdrive isn't on the outer edges. It's more towards the back of the bearing. So when you if you check this bearing, you can roll it all day and it might sound good, but if you grab it and pull up on it and start rolling it, that's where you could start hearing some wear, because the wear on this outer race is going to be towards the back of the race, not so much in the middle, because of the load pushing the bearing that direction. So that's why we clean them up, check them, but we always replace them. It's not that expensive to do that. So
Now, because that looks like that, does that run the case?
well, that's what we're going to get into right here. If you look at the case, you can already see how the case has got the wear right here in the snap ring groove. See how it's square at the top, but it's already got it wore in the back right here.
Yeah.
See, so that tells you that that shaft, every time the overdrive clutch comes on, it's jerking that shaft back this way. Boom, boom, boom. But what we do, we got this overdrive housing saver that sets down in here like this, and then it doesn't let that bearing go back that way anymore. It holds it all towards the front of the unit. So, but I have learned sometimes I have to grind these little tips down here a little bit to get it to set down there flush. And this will basically set on your bearing like this. So it'll make it to where this snap ring physically never touches the back of the snap ring groove. It's always going to be touching the front or the middle. Basically is what that does. So we put them in every one, even our new housings. That way we know they can never have any wear. We have a seal here that keeps the fluid inside the overdrive housing. That way it can't come out into the transfer case or anything like that. You have a little drain slot right here. Annie, if the seal starts leaking or the transfer case seal starts leaking, it'll physically run out this hole onto the ground. Annie?
I think somebody's here.
I think somebody's here too.
Yeah.
They are. Annie?
Phone's
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Well, guys, we're going to end up stopping this video for just a minute. A good friend of mine's to come by, and we're going to renew it here in just a minute or restart it. Have a good day.